chokwadi pasi pano taiona moto marongera vanoita wepanyika vanoda kudisu vamwe tioneswe moto dai pasina kupindira kwaishe chokwadi pasi pano taiona moto marongera vanoita wepanyika vanoda kudisu vamwe tioneswe moto dai pasina kupindira kwaishe kana dzimba dzedu dzingadai dziri dzavo mawanzira vanoita dzimba dzavo vanoda kudisu vamwe tigare mumiti.
Welcome to this edition of Electoral, brought to you proudly in partnership with the ERC and Heart and Soul TV and radio. And this week we'll be discussing the issues around Zimbabwe's elections as we are all aware that we'll be having by-elections in early 2022, and also the nation will be preparing itself for the general elections in 2023. Now, at the center of elections is the voter registration drive. Now, the Zimbabwe Election Commission announced that it was supposed to go on a voter registration blitz, but then it also immediately before it started the blitz announced that it was suspending that blitz because it could not do so without the Registrar General's office also embarking on a blitz to issue identity cards. Therein lies the problem: the absence of identity cards, the absence of resources to ensure that people get identity cards so that they can register to vote. So to help me discuss this and many other issues around elections, I'm joined in the house by the main political parties in Zimbabwe, ZANU-PF and the MDC-Alliance is led by Chamisa. I'm also joined in studio by a resident leader from Chitando who will also help us discuss these issues from a resident's perspective and also from a political perspective. Now, I want to welcome you, Madam Honorable Mavetera from ZANU-PF. And let's just talk about this issue of the suspension of the voter registration blitz and how it has a potential of impacting people's participation in the next general elections.
Okay, how are you, Bless? How are you, Zimbabwe? Thank you very much for inviting us here. For me, when I look at it, I do not think it is really a great impact. When it is now a blitz, my own thinking would be that it's now an interface, which is more maybe one-on-one situation. But truly speaking, when it comes to awareness, when it comes to voter registration, it has been there. And even if you're going to look at, or even we also have even Twitter handles, which are even saying register to vote. So when it comes to ZEC, yes, it was very good for them to be having the blitz. But looking at it, I think also now they also have got, we're talking the issue of our resources also coming into play, and also looking at also divided attention when it comes to the whole process that needs to be involved. So I think when ZEC actually did that, in my own thinking, I think it's meant just for them to also concentrate on the issues of the by-election. And for now, I'm sure each and every other person in Zimbabwe knows that they can actually be able to go and register to vote. But however, I feel that what was more important was for them also to go on that blitz and then be able to get more people getting on board. But as far as we're concerned, I feel that truly speaking, that will not be able to affect any people being involved in the electoral processes. I all believe that all we need to do is just to get more centers of people also making sure that at least they register to vote, so that we get the numbers, especially more when it comes to voting in the by-elections.
Amazing, thank you. I'll come to you, Alice. From a resident's point of view, what do you read into the suspension of this blitz? How does it affect you? Are you concerned at all?
Yes, thank you very much, Blessed. Greetings to everyone. My name is Alice from Chitando Residents Trust. Yes, it's definitely going to affect us. Why am I saying this? For example, in Chitando, we have got 25 wards, over 500,000 residents who are only using one center, that is at Makon. And sometimes it's closed, it's not opened all the time. So for us, it's definitely difficult because people from St. Mary's, people from Zengeza have to board a combi or a bus so that they can come to the registration center. But sometimes it's closed. So for us, it's difficult because we all know that voters registration is very, very important for everyone to be able to vote, especially during the elections. We have got youth who are not working at the moment, who cannot afford the $2 to go to Makon. We have got old people, we have got people living with disabilities who cannot afford to go to Makon. So we thought that this blitz was going to be in all the wards, in all the 25 wards, it was going to be easier for us residents to go and register to vote. This is important to us to go and vote, especially with the recalls that were done in Chitungwiza, in 5 wards where we don't have councillors, in 1 constituency, St. Mary's, where we don't have an MP.
I'll come to you, Ellen, from the MDC-Alliance, the Deputy Secretary for elections in your party. Talk to us about what you're expecting of the Blitz and if you are worried that the Blitz was suspended.
Thank you so much, Blessing, for this question. We feel, as the MDC-Alliance, we strongly feel that the Blitz itself is long overdue. And we are not looking at, for instance, the 2023 elections, but also we have the delimitation process which is likely to happen in the next year, and which will be determined by the numbers of registered voters. So surely the postponement has an impact on the integrity and also the accuracy of the delimitation process. And also looking at the fact that we have over 2 million young people that are now eligible to vote, that are 18 years and above, and those are rightfully first-time voters. And the Blitz would have accorded them the opportunity to go and register to vote. Yes, we appreciate the postponement, that it was because of the situation of the lack of IDs from the Registrar General's office. But then as the MDC-Alliance, we strongly feel that because the first quarter of 2022, for example, when the voter registration Blitz has been scheduled, there are lots of activities there. We're looking at by-elections. We're looking at the delimitation process. We're looking at census. And, you know, we foresee a situation whereby there will be congestion. And the numbers of eligible people that are supposed to register, they won't be able to do so because of congestion. For us, this opportunity would have been good in the sense that we have people that are in South Africa. We have people that are in Botswana. They usually come back home during the festive period. And that would have accorded them the opportunity to go and register to vote. Yes, ZEC has 73, including their provincial offices, 73 registration centers. But then you're looking at the distance, like what our colleague here from the Residents Association is saying. Those centers are not reachable to the generality of the population. For example, the people in Victoria Falls, the nearest registration center, the district registration center is in Wange, which is 100 kilometers away. And how many people from Victoria Falls can actually get money for transport to go and register at one? So that's the challenge. That is, yes, there could be registration centers all over, but are they reachable to the population? This is why the voter registration Blitz would have given the people the opportune time, you know, to actually reach out to the registration centers.
ZANU-PF is pushing on a drive 5 million voters by 2023. Now, with these challenges, is it possible and feasible that these voters will be able to be registered before you go to election?
Okay, thank you very much. As much as it may seem so, but truly speaking, recently we were at a budget conference in Victoria Falls. And I heard the Minister of Home Affairs very much clearly saying that it's quite important for us to go technological and also make sure that at least we adapt modern ways of us being able to register people. He was talking of a hybrid system, which he wanted to make sure that at least every other Zimbabwean can be able to register online. So in terms of the IDs, I'm sure that is going to be done. And I believe when this process now becomes electronic, I'm sure every other process will actually become electronic and make sure that at least we'll be able to achieve those 5 million votes.
There seems to be a view that urban people who want to register to vote, potential urban dwellers who want to register to vote, are being defranchised intentionally by the ruling ZANU-PF because it's got most of its support in the rural areas. What would you say to that?
Truly speaking, I've always told you a lot of times that whatever I speak, especially when I speak on behalf of my party, is that is my personal view and what I would have assessed. I believe that as a political party, what we've always done is that we have got leaders who are supposed to be speaking on behalf of ZANU-PF, but then we are supposed to also be able to entrench and also understand what they also have to be laying down to us. What I've understood from what I have had, truly speaking, there's never a situation we have disowned any other people, be it urban or be it rural. Of course, like what you're saying, the urban setup. Truly speaking, we are very much concerned about the urban setup. That's why you see even now the president, you have heard the president even saying that now we need, as much as we're going to buy elections, let us also try to make sure that at least we get ZANU-PF councillors also coming into those urban centers, because the president is very much concerned about all these people. So truly speaking, for us to say we disown any of those people, I think that is actually a very untrue statement. And truly speaking, we are very concerned about every citizen of Zimbabwe, because we believe that the moment that we're elected into power, we are no longer ZANU-PF, but we are now for the whole of Zimbabwe. So we are supposed to be having concern of every other citizen, despite of their political affiliation.
Do you feel this, Alice, what I was talking about?
As a resident, I think that the government, the central government, is supposed to be partial. It's supposed to involve everyone, especially in this time of voter registration, because it's each and every person's democratic right to go and register and to vote, so that we can choose our own councillors, we can choose our own members of parliament from any other party that we feel like. So I think the government, as we are speaking right now, should make sure that everyone is involved. IDs are involved, especially in Chitando. We've got one center where people are taking IDs, but for me to get an ID is taking longer than expected, and for it as it is, it's going to cause voter apathy, because youth are losing confidence. Like what one of my colleagues has indicated, that we've got over 2 million new voters that we are expecting from the youth. Right now, a youth who is not working, a youth who doesn't have a job, is going to Macon to get an ID twice or more than twice a week, and he's not getting the ID. Do you think that person will honestly be concerned in going back to register at Macon? Do you think that person will go and vote? These are the votes that we are losing. We have got the delimitation that is coming. We have got the by-elections that are coming. But at the moment, we don't have IDs. We have one voter registration. ZEC, without telling us the reasons why they have cancelled the place, we are nowhere to be found. So as residents, I think the central government should intervene as soon as possible, because right now we are in the middle of the pandemic. ZEC was going to take advantage of this December, before the new pandemic comes in, either in January or in February, to register everyone at this moment, and also to make sure that they clear the voters' roll, update it before the by-elections, so that we can all, as residents, we can all go out and vote and elect whoever we want to elect.
Well, do you think there's a specific reason why ZEC would not be doing these things as you, from your line of view?
From my personal view, I think that ZEC, maybe it's funds, but since they didn't tell us the reasons why they are actually cutting this, maybe it's funds. If it's the ID thing, it was very, very prudent if they had come ZEC here, the registrar's office here, while we are taking IDs, we are registering. While we are taking IDs, we are registering. But for now, we don't know what's happening. If they had called us as stakeholders, as Chitando Residents Trust, we have got a certificate of voter registration, voter observation, voter education. So we are part of the stakeholders at ZEC, but we were not told. We only heard it in the news. So now we are worried as residents. They should tell us what's really happening, because this is for everyone. This is our democratic right as citizens.
I want to come to you, MDC-Alliance. Do you think that there's a conspiracy around this failure to ensure that there's a voter registration blitz ahead of delimitation?
Thank you, Blessed. You know, in every situation where there is no transparency, people out there begin to speculate. We as political stakeholders, and also my colleague here from the civil society, we have always been saying, ZEC, can you please engage as stakeholders? Give us your timetable. Give us, you know, your rollout plan for all these activities. And nothing of that sort have been coming into place. Say for the last 2 months or so, when they've started engaging us as the MDC-Alliance and together with ZANU-PF and the MDC, those political parties in Parliament. But then the issue of voter registration blitz, for instance, we only got to know, yes, they'll indicated that there will be voter registration blitz to our leaders, but then they did not communicate the date. There was no, you know, rollout plan for that until we saw it in the papers. And same applies to the postponement as well. That was not communicated to stakeholders. That was only communicated via a leaked memo from ZEC, which we, the political parties, began to say, so this thing has been postponed, but we're not informed officially. So now, if there is that, if there isn't that form of, you know, stakeholder engagement, you know, which is done in good faith, then there becomes speculative tendencies from us as stakeholders. We have said, let's go to the people to an extent that, okay, ask us, in Victoria Falls, we got our people to organize themselves. And for ZEC said, okay, fine, we'll drive all the way from Wange to go and register people in Victoria Falls. But last minute, they bolted out. So these are some of the things at the end of the day we end up speculating, say, but really, what's happening? We have the delimitation coming up, but still the voters' roll has not been updated. We are saying, yes, engage stakeholders. There is an opportunity for online voter registration. We have young people that have recently got their IDs, for instance. Those that have got their IDs, why not arrange that they automatically get registered? And then at some point they go to ZEC and present themselves physically, you know, for authentication. That's what you have been saying. If ZEC, just last week, ZEC deregistered over 2,000 people, right, that had deceased. 22,000 people that had deceased. If ZEC and the registrar's office can actually use that opportunity to deregister people, surely at the same time it can use that platform to actually register new people, working with what? With the Registrar General's office. And then that's when we call upon stakeholders to come and audit the voters' roll. So these are some of the issues that we are saying, ZEC, engage people, engage stakeholders. Because the moment we don't do that, then we will begin to speculate.
Do you have any complaints as ZANU-PF? ZANU-PF has never complained about ZEC.
Truly, well, I think ZEC is doing quite a very good job. Even now, it already shows that they're already trying to make sure that at least they update the voters' roll. Them deregistering 22,000 deceased people already shows that they're actually in the process doing that. And besides, I know that Section 119 of the Constitution mandates us as parliamentarians to be able to represent the people of Zimbabwe. ZEC has come to the Portfolio Committee of Justice, where I also belong to, and they updated us on everything that's supposed to be happening. When it comes to, I believe that in that Portfolio Committee, there are even members from the other side of the House, which is the political or the opposition, and also even independent candidates also being there, because we believe that as Parliament, that's what we're supposed to do. ZEC updated us that they were supposed to then be able to engage into this blitz, and then they later on suspended it. But for us then to be communicating on issues that have not been formally communicated, I think we are actually losing the plot. What we need to do is for us to wait and see what ZEC is going to communicate officially. Because now, like what Madam said, it's quite clear that it's a leaked document, which sometimes cannot be very much authentic. If it means that they are supposed to be stopping the blitz, I think it's better when they communicate officially like what they're supposed to do. I believe also that ZEC is supposed also to engage the stakeholders involved. It's very, very important. We believe that it's within their mandate for them to communicate and to engage every other stakeholders. The moment that they do not do that, I believe that that actually becomes a challenge. But however, when it comes to what ZEC is doing right now, I feel that if they need right now, they need to concentrate on what is before them. I believe ZEC is not involved, especially on the delimitation exercise. Yes, it may be involved very much, but I'm saying right now what's very much important for them now is for them to go on the by-elections. Like what I said previously, maybe it's an issue of resources that would make them, for them to stop this blitz for now and concentrate on the by-elections and look at the people that voted before, and also maybe create more awareness when it comes to people wanting to vote. I think that is what is more important for now. For now, we need to make sure we publicize, we create more awareness, people need to be registered to vote. Whenever we see the numbers increasing, I think that's when we would definitely be able to say, okay, now at least there's a lot of people who want to come and register to vote. Let us create more centers. Let us first speak about people not accessing those available ones. Whenever we see that at least there are more numbers, they're considering now that we've got COVID, and when we see that at least they're not having that capacity to do that. But
where do the more numbers come from when people are already saying they can't go there because of distance?
Then what it then needs to do now is definitely the blitz would very much be very necessary. But truly speaking, for now, I think let's utilize what is there. When you know that it's your democratic right for you to be able to do that, I think it's quite important for one to just sacrifice as much as they can. I know we do not have resources. People, we get resources differently. But I think it's quite important now for people to really consider that their vote will actually be able to create the change that they want. So in whatever way that they want, it's very important for them to actually be able to register to vote. That's my thinking. Of course, resources are limited. The blitz was going to help everyone to get to register to vote. But considering that it has been stopped, like what you're saying, then what are we supposed to do? Let us use the resources that we have so that at least we can mobilize within ourselves so that we go and register to vote. She rightfully mentioned it, that they organize in Victoria Falls, they organize within themselves so that they could get people to register to vote. So this is what I think. It's not a matter of us looking at it on an individual basis, but for us to have a collective effort to make sure that at least we make sure that people will register to vote.
But one of the reasons, the major reasons that ZEC said it was stopping the blitz was because they could not do the blitz without the office of the Registrar General. Now, government does not have resources to give people national IDs. As Parliament, are you concerned about this? What is happening?
The reason why I mentioned earlier on about the Minister, Honorable Kasembe, saying it at the budget conference was because it was a thing of great concern for every citizen and even for us as parliamentarians. We were so clear about that. We said people are not able to register to vote right now. Even if you go to the Registrar General's office, when it was open, you would see there are a lot of queues. So that's when the Minister gave an option to say now they're working on that hybrid system, whereby they want to start now registering people online. That's what the Honourable Minister said. And he said even in terms of registering to vote, they were saying they're making a system which will enable citizens, whenever they get an ID, automatically they then get onto the register, to get on to register to vote. That is what the Honourable Minister said. And we're basing on that because already all we need to do now is for us to play the oversight role that we're supposed to play as parliamentarians, whereby we were supposed to ask the Minister, how far have you gone, where is the system, so that at least now every person will be able to register to vote. I believe there are a lot of citizens in Zimbabwe, it's actually even for us as the ruling party, those are some of the recommendations that we gave at our recent annual conference, whereby we're saying people need to register to vote. It's not only affecting any other person because of political affiliation, it's affecting every citizen of Zimbabwe. So we are very happy that the Minister of Home Affairs said they're working on it and they're getting an electronic and a more modernized way, which is more innovative, so that at least they can get people to register to vote.
What do you think needs to be done so that your concerns, fears are allayed as we get into elections as a people in Zimbabwe?
Okay, thank you very much. As residents, we are very, very much worried because since November, after the recalls, we have no representation in one constituency and 5 wards. And at this time, at the end of the year, where we are expecting by-elections by March, according to what the President said, ZEC is too quiet for comfort. ZEC, there are no posters. There's nothing They are actually too quiet. They haven't engaged us as stakeholders, like what I mentioned before. There are no voter education, not even any poster in any way where we have been moving around either in Chitungwiza or outside Chitungwiza. If it's not for ERC that we are working with, that has got 2 shuttles that are working in Chitungwiza and some voter materials that they are giving to us as stakeholders, otherwise there is nothing. ZEC should start at least show that something is happening on the ground. Voter registration is taking place. Yes, they stopped the blitz, but what have they done so far with the one voter registration center that we have in Chitungwiza? And also, like what the Honorable has said, I hope when the minister said that they were actually preparing an online system, I hope they gave you members of parliamentarians a date or a deadline where we should expect this online system, because right now I think we are behind time. We've got by-elections, we've got 2023 coming. By this time all of us should have known that the online system is working. Let's say it's in January, so that everyone is used to that, so that we can work on that. As residents, we have voted for people, we have leaders, but we are tired of promises, my brother. We are tired. We need action. We need to see people implementing what they say, because we are the ones who voted them into power to go and represent us. We need to see people representing us. We need to see ZEC taking actions. We need to see members of parliament coming back to us to tell us what's on the ground, what they have done, what they have heard, what the ministers are saying, so that as residents, we cannot speculate what is happening on the ground. We cannot work on guesswork.
But do you have confidence in that the elections would produce a result that will not be contested, given the complaints that you have right now?
Like what I said before, that we are very, very much afraid that we are going to have voter apathy, and that most of these youth, new voters cannot register because of IDs, because of long distances, because of the time, the monies that are needed, the transport fees. Honestly, from my point of view as a resident in Chitungwiza, we are buying water, my brother. We are buying water. I cannot afford a $2 to go and register. Honestly, because I'm buying water, I am paying for everything. I cannot afford to go back to a voter registration center to register. So this blitz, honestly, they have actually lost, we have lost much confidence on this after they've announced this, the stopping of the blitz. We are expecting this to bring youth together so that they can register. I think we all know that most youth are engaging in drugs abuse in all towns, not Chitungwiza only. So right now, we actually, as a Chitrest and ERC, we are working with the youth so that they can have at least something. So imagine asking someone to get transport money to go and register. ZEC must take action. There is no voter education, there is no material either in the streets by this time, but the president has announced the election. Honestly, I think this is going to be a disaster in the future.
Amazing. The MDC-Alliance, you are also in Parliament, although we can argue on a number of things about your presence in Parliament. But is it not the place where you're supposed to use Parliament to ensure that there are laws that allow certain things to happen? Instead, for MPs demanding for cars, they should have been demanding that people have a national ID.
Okay, thank you, Blair. On that note, it's not true that our MPs have not been speaking about the issues of IDs. We've been speaking about it, and even the Parliamentary Committee, which my colleague here was referring to, or the Parliamentary Committee on Justice, we have representatives there, and they've raised the issue of ID several times. And also the reason why the minister had to actually stand up at their budget conference to talk about IDs, it was because of representations from our parliamentarians, including from ZANU-PF as well. So surely it's not true that our parliamentarians are not speaking out on electoral issues in Parliament. But also going to the issue of the online ID issuance system, I think the minister is simply speaking with a forked tongue. if we are to be honest with ourselves, it's the lack of political will. This is why at the end of the day, we political parties, we start speculating. For starters, the online registration system, did it even indicate how it's going to be done? Huh? We are looking at a voter registration blitz, which is early next year in February. And between February and now, we only have about 2 months, and that has still not been communicated. And more so, how many young people, or even the elder or older people that are not registered, how many have access to the internet system? Not talking about the 67% that are in rural areas, but also about the urbanites here. How many have access to internet? Surely, this is why I'm saying the minister is speaking with a forked tongue. It's for us, as the MDC-Alliance, we feel it's the lack of political will to implement the issuance of IDs. And more so, yes, the online system, it's an innovative way, which is good in the long run, right? But now, let's face the problem head on. Why not revert to the old manual system? I remember when we were young, we'd go to the Registrar General's office. We register there, we're issued with those green waiting passes, you know, those papers. And they don't need imported material. They can just take your photo and, issue you with that document. That's why it was called your waiting pass. Until such a time when your metallic ID is out. They'll call you, no, can you go and get your metallic ID? This is what we're saying. The Registrar General's office, through the Minister and the Minister of Home Affairs, revert to the old system. Start issuing those waiting passes. It's only maybe, I don't know if it's bond paper or some specialized paper, which is not important. You don't need foreign currency to get that paper. We can do it locally. We can get the access to paper locally. And the only thing is to just take photos. Give the people, they go, even the Electoral Act itself, it actually recognizes the waiting pass as an eligible ID document which someone can actually use to go and register to vote. So this is why I say there's lack of political. Surely if the world government could actually fly a delegation of over 100 people, to COP26. Sure, and then at the end of the day, you come and tell us that you don't have money, for IDs. Or maybe today is the issue of money. Tomorrow they tell us, no, it's because of sanctions. We can't import the materials for IDs. Surely.
But if green waiting passes are issued, won't we start to hear people crying foul again that ZANU-PF is now up at it again? It is now rigging, issuing waiting passes to even underage and stuff like that. Won't we hear that? Because we've heard every term there has always been a complaint.
There's always been a complaint. But remember that information would be computerized. It doesn't make any sense, even with it doesn't make any difference even with those plastic metallic IDs. It doesn't make any difference really. But for now, as a stopgap measure, and this is why even at the end of the day, as the MDC-Alliance, we have been saying, give us the opportunity, and with all other stakeholders, to monitor all these processes, the voter registration processes. Also, as people register, they will be able to actually, as monitors, to also help in the verification of the eligibility of those people that will be registering to vote. And also, at the end of the day, let there be transparency. Even on the voting day, we have polling agents there. We are able to monitor, to say, no, this person is eligible, no, this person is underage or not. So this is why I'm saying, let's sit down as stakeholders and come up with a coherent plan. Government has to issue out IDs. Constitutional, it's every right of every Zimbabwean to have an ID and a passport. That is, the lack of IDs is an infringement of the people's rights. Government should prioritize its resources towards adhering to the dictates of our constitution. Give people ideas. Give us the plausible.
I think I truly don't understand what the people of Zimbabwe want. Because truly speaking, we have modernized. And for us to go back to Egypt, I don't think it's fair. If we're going to be adopting this way that we discarded and we say this was quite ancient, and then now we want to then bring it back, I think there's also misplaced priorities and also decisions that I think are tantamount to a lot of negative talk coming from the people. I think now we have adopted new ways of doing things. For me, my thinking, I know everyone is not accessible to technological advancement that the country has, but truly speaking, if ever we do it in a coordinated and coherent manner, we'll be able to make sure that we engage everyone and everyone will be able to access. Right now, I'll tell you, not in all countries, I believe in every city and in every district here in Zimbabwe, there is actually some network which is there. So that alone shows that at least we're able to then be able to do that as a country. And for me, my thinking is definitely that has been something that we've always talked about, even in Parliament, that there is great need for us to put resources towards one person, even just being able to just have an ordinary birth certificate. It's very, very important, because that's the only way you can then be able to say at least that now I'm a Zimbabwean, or at least I belong to this country, I'm a citizen of Zimbabwe. So the birth certificates, the IDs, even the passports, there are a lot of ways that we've even spoken about this in Parliament. We have spoken about this to the Honourable Minister, and we are happy and glad that the Minister has actually got some ways that he has put in place now for us to start having a conversation when it comes to this. So for me, I think for now what we need to do is for us to just be able to appreciate what the Minister is able to do and say, at least let's see what he's got to do. Indeed, we need the timelines. That's very, very important. He has to give us timelines. We need to call him to say, when are you going to have the system, so that at least when we get to the elections, everything will be fair and fine. I'm glad you said now ZEC has said in February they'll start the blitz. So it means that before we get to the by-elections, that blitz will be there and then people would have registered to vote. But of course, like what ZEC said, that the Registrar General's office needs to be there. For me, when I look at that, I think that is actually a way that ZEC is doing, so that at least we can then be able to implement the issuance of IDs. For me, I think there are a lot of ways that we can be able to make sure that at least we push the Registrar General to be able to make sure that they're effective enough in giving those IDs. So the moment that now we've got by-elections which have been set and ZEC has to register people, the Registrar General will be compelled to make sure at least that they start having these IDs as efficient as it can be, because we'll be having by-elections at the corner. For me, that's what I saw, and that's what I think can actually be very good in making sure that at least people will actually be able to have IDs.
But if we...
Sorry, can I respond? Yes, I completely agree with my comrade sister here. But the challenge is, as a stopgap measure, for starters, the Minister of Home Affairs should actually live up to its mandate, and also as obligated by the Constitution, give people the IDs. Yes, we have those plastic IDs, which is good, but now they're saying there is no money, right? They can't import the material because of sanctions. This is why I'm saying let there be an alternative. This is why I personally propose that no, let's go back to the old system. And also in terms of verification, so on the day of election, that person of registration, that person will go to the voter registration center with the waiting pass and his or her birth certificate, and get registered there for verification purposes, which you were concerned about. Even on the day of election, get your green pass, waiting pass, and what? And your birth certificate. Yes, it might sound ancient, it might sound minor, but it's practical. Yes, we need to be innovative, but do we have the infrastructure to actually support that innovativeness? Let's take, for instance, you go down there in Madlambudzi, down in Plumtree, or maybe in Binga there, or in Bulilima, or Chipinge there, down there. Those people, they don't even have network. I was in Mangwe some time back. The network that they access is from Botswana. You know, they can't access Net1, Econet, Telecel there. And then more so, then we exploit those people to actually register. I'm like, no.
I just wanted to find out from you, before I come to you, I just want to find out from you, if we have modernized, and we are failing to deliver the modernity, what use is it?
Yeah, you need to understand that when you talk of any technology, you know, it's sometimes people become rigid in adapting it, or sometimes people don't even understand it and they need to go through some training. For us right now, I think we've been talking about the 4th Industrial Revolution, I think in the whole world. So for us as Zimbabwe to live in isolation, I think we'll be doing a disservice to our own citizens of Zimbabwe. So truly speaking, as much as it is, what is needed is for us to continue re-emphasizing that so that people can be able to adapt to it. It's not a matter of a once-off thing which will just happen 24 hours or in 5 minutes. It's something, it's a gradual process. For me, I think it's something that we need to be able to understand, and gradually we'll be able to see that this is the right way for us to go. I'll tell you, there was some time that we started off with the mango phones. I think you know it very well. That was way back. And as we gradually went up, one would actually be saying, can I phone you this mango? And it was refund. But we went on from mangoes, we went to Nokia's. It's a gradual process. So that's the same thing that will happen in everything whenever we talk of technology. One people will be so rigid to say this is what we want. But at the end of the day, there are some certain ways that we say, now we're living in this world. Why can't we go this way? Right now, other countries are in 5G, but we're still in 4G as Zimbabwe. But what we need to do is for us to understand 5G, and then gradually we'll get there. So for my thinking is, yes, it might seem as if we don't understand it, but let's learn it. Let's appreciate it, and then we'll get there.
The question would be, would you rather not have 5G and 4G?
It will be good. If we can then be able to do it, it's good for us to have both. So that's what I'm thinking. But for this...
So at the moment, people don't have ID, and their lives are not going on. So would we punish them because we want to have modernity, which we are failing to deliver?
Let me tell you a very good example of what happens to the Minister of Transport in terms of those IDs, or those number plates. On those number plates, the Minister of Transport came in and said, no, we can't be importing. Because the moment that we import, we've got a lot of costs that are involved. Why can't we make our own number plates from Zimbabwe so that at least we can reduce those costs? So I believe that even as much as we would want that plastic ID, but I think the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs is also supposed to also do the same like what the Honorable Minister did, whereby it's not a matter of us importing from outside the country. Within Zimbabwe here, we do modernize things which are within the means that we can do. And maybe the President has always said that we need to domesticate, we need to do things here from Zimbabwe, we need to do our own so that at least we are not restricted from doing anything because we have got foreign involvement that needs to be done. So for me, I think that is what is important. But for us to be going back to that old system, it can be a problem. We can then be able to get in some new ID cards, whereby we're saying these are the new ID cards, which I believe can also still be modernized, but also within resources which we can get locally, so that at least we don't have any restrictions because we don't have any foreign currency.
You wanted to come in?
Yes, thank you very much, Blessed. Actually, as residents, we are worried that the Minister of Home Affairs will be able to issue us with IDs now that elections are coming. This is not the first time that we have been queuing for IDs and we are not getting them. This is not the first time that we have applied for passports and we are not getting them, and our lives are not going anywhere because of this. And now that the President has announced that we will be having by-elections next year, early next year, that's when we are honestly that then as residents we become comfortable that for real we are now getting IDs. They are not being transparent with us. These IDs, we have been waiting for IDs for a long time. So now, honestly, is this the time that we'll get IDs? Because elections have been announced. At least, which they should at least show us something. Yes, we need to be modernized. Yes, we need that. We are in the new era where everyone most of the people are using phones. We have internet, etc. But this modernization at this time of the elections, we hope it is going to work. But for us as residents, we have lost the confidence of getting IDs, which I said earlier on that we are going to have voter apathy. We are going, I hope I will be coming back after elections, Blessed, so that I will tell you that comparing with the 2018 people who registered to vote and the people who are going to register to vote come 2023, come the by-election, because no, people are not getting IDs. The people, Honorable Minister, when you go back to Parliament, tell the Minister of Home Affairs to at least visit Chitando and see. There are no IDs. There are nothing, not even the papers on. Myself, I lost my ID. I applied for an ID, I think 3 months or 4 months ago. Up to now, I haven't got anything. So for us to expect a miracle, now that the elections are being announced, that we will start getting the IDs as earlier as possible, either in a matter of hours or a day, for us this is not true.
But then ZEC said, bless if you heard it, they were quite clear that they've got resources enough for them to be able to hold by-elections. So in my view, I would think they would have done all those processes, they would have done the voter registration, and I'm sure they would have made the Registrar General available so that at least people can register to vote. I will tell you, I remember last year in 2018, the last time we had elections, they were actually calling people to come to register to vote, and they would sit there the whole day, no one would come to register to vote. Maybe like what you're saying, maybe because people didn't have transport money, that's what you're saying. But truly speaking, for me, when you know that this is very, very important, the same way that you would want to eat food is the same way that you should prioritize issues to do with voting. That's my thinking. I think you should understand, people should be conscientized to know that whenever they vote, they're supposed to be able to get involved because it's their democratic right to do that. And also they're supposed to contribute towards national development in that way. So my thinking would be young people need to register to vote. And I think there's that voter apathy, not because of IDs or anything, but because just young people don't want to get involved in electoral processes. I think that is one thing that I think we also need to look at and have a close look at, to say young people, naturally, they just don't want to get involved. For what reason, only God knows. But truly speaking, young people we should create this awareness. I think ZEC has done their own part whereby they try to publicize, even in 2018, but you would see, they'll see the whole day no one comes to register to vote. I think for them to look for this innovative way of having bliss was because they realized that people were not able to vote, and they had to look for innovative ways to engage everyone so that everyone can register to vote. So for us, I think we can then be able to have an assessment in February after the blitz happens, and then we'll see how many people have registered to vote, and then at least we can then be able to analyze to see what is really the cause of people not registering to vote. That's my own thinking.
But you are aware that it is not supposed to cost another person more for them to register to vote.
I totally agree.
So it is going to cost someone lesser who stays in Mbale to register to vote, because the district registration center for ZEC is in Mbale. But it's going to cost the person in Waterfalls more,
Yes.
which is not what democracy is supposed to be about.
I totally agree. That is why we're saying, that's why the Minister of Home Affairs was clear that maybe they need to devise a mechanism which will make sure that as soon as one registers, gets an ID card, automatically you are registered to vote. That's what the minister said. He said it in Victoria Falls. So what we need to do as parliamentarians is for us to continue pushing, asking the Honourable Minister, how far have you gone? The moment that he does that, I'm sure we'll have, all these issues that we're talking about will be dead and gone. Because truly speaking, the moment that you have an ID, automatically you register to vote. So that at least one person is not then limited to voting because you need to go to another center or you need to do that. I think that will be the other solution that can actually bring closure to all this.
I think myself...
On that note, Blessed, the question that you are asking the Honourable MP here, why should the cost, which is supposed to be borne by the state, transferred to citizens? This is what we are saying is the MDC-Alliance. Reach out to the people. The people have every right to register to vote, right? And also on participation on electoral processes. Yes, we've had ZEC at times saying, no, we're at this place, and the people that came to register to vote, there are few district centers, there is no uptake from potential registrants. We ask ourselves, but was there any publicity, right? ZEC sit down with stakeholders and say, we are registering people on such and such a day. And then we get together with civic society, we get to organize stakeholders. That calls upon the aspect of civic education, right? And also now we go on to the Electoral Act itself. This is why we are saying we want electoral reforms. We want the Electoral Act to be aligned to the Constitution, right? The Act in its current form prohibits civic society organizations from conducting voter registration until, accredited by ZEC. And ZEC has its own manual. And you ask yourself, how many civil society groups are in the ZEC database? So this is why we are saying voter education is an obligation of each and every stakeholder in the country. Engage people. ZEC, there is no harm in ZEC saying, no, but guys, this is our voter education manual. We are supposed to educate people in these 1, 2, 3 areas, so that at the end of the day, when ZEC people, ZEC registration people sit there, we are able to mobilize people and also assist them. We assist them with information with regards to the required documentation. So this is the challenge that we have as a country. Let's, this whole election process, as we march towards delimitation, as we march towards the by-elections, the issue of the issuance of ID cards, at the end of the day, it does impact to the integrity, to the credibility, and to the accuracy of all those processes that we are headed towards. If we have over 2 million young people, and now, for instance, for one to get an ID, or even to get to register, one, remember there's the aspect of, proof of residence. How many young people have access to those documentation? And now you have to go kwa Sabuku, the headman or the chief, to write you the letter to say, no, this one is eligible to actually get an ID. How many, that is a process. This is why we're saying this online voter registration system, ID issuance system, it just doesn't work. Let's be practical. We don't have, yes, in the long run we might consider it, but we have a limited time frame here. Up to February 22, we expect that by the time we get to February, when ZEC conducted voter registration blitz, the Minister of Home Affairs would have told, all wards throughout the country. We're talking of about 1,985 wards throughout the country. And now we are in December. So we are only technical because of the festive period. Technically, we are left with January, which is 4 weeks to cover all those wards. And they are still debating on contemplating how they will come up with their online voter register, ID issuance system. Surely, I don't know, that is a challenge that we are grappling with as a country. Let's be practical. Let's sit down and discuss what is practical on the ground. Yes, the online system can work in some areas that have internet access, but inside the 67% of our population in rural areas, do they have that access? So let's be practical, sit down with stakeholders, let's debate and come up with innovative ideas, and we start from there.
Amazing. Now, this is the Electoral, proudly brought to you in partnership with the ERC and Heart and Soul TV and Radio, and I'm your host as usual, Dara Blessed Mhlanga. Now I'm just going to ask my panelists to give us their closing submissions on this very important and crucial discussion that we have been having. The voter registration blitz, how best can it be done to ensure that no one is disenfranchised when we go for elections? Because elections by their very nature and for their very purpose is to make sure that we are left with no doubt as to who should govern us. Because people have been given an opportunity to vote. So excluding others from voting puts the result in doubt. I'll start with you, your closing remarks, Madam Ellen.
Thank you, Blessed. As the MDC-Alliance, we feel that an all-stakeholder approach in voter registration, ID issuance system, should be conducted. Engage all stakeholders. Let us be informed timelessly. Civic societies, they have their constituency out there. whatever the deliberations that are taken into account, they are able to communicate timeously to their constituents. The same applies to us political parties. But then what we are saying is there should be transparency in these processes, and also ZEC should engage stakeholders. And we expect and we hope that ZEC is going to visit all wards, because we know that if they say yes, constituencies, but the sizes of the constituencies, they are too big. They can't, people will still be reverting to the current system whereby people are not able to access the district registration centers. So we are hoping that ZEC will be able to access all wards throughout the country. And secondly, and most importantly, the Ministry of Home Affairs. The Ministry of Home Affairs should actually come up with practical ways to ensure that people have access to the IDs. And it won't make any sense, again, for us to go for this delimitation process, for us to go for these by-elections, for us to go for the 2023 election without the Minister of Home Affairs having conducted the ID issuance blitz in all district centers. So all these efforts, let them be done in good faith, because ultimately, if this is not done in good faith, then we'll start questioning the credibility of the by-elections and the delimitation process, and more so the 2023 elections, because we strongly feel that there will be quite a sizable population of eligible voters that would have been disfranchised. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think ZEC must avail their calendar as soon as possible so that they can enable us stakeholders to plan our activities as well. And also ZEC must update the voters' roll, clean and update the voters' roll. Last but not least, ZEC must come to the grassroots as soon as possible and publicize when and how and where we are supposed to go and register. The whole process should be transparent, and so that we as residents, we are able to go and register and vote. And also the Minister of Home Affairs should bring the registration of IDs back to the grassroots so that we can be able to get our IDs as soon as possible and register to vote, so we can vote during the by-elections in March. Thank you.
Madam?
Okay, thank you very much, Bless. And I think we had a very good panel today. And thank you for the insights that they gave us. For me, I believe that so whatever they told us is also very important for us going forward. But I think, let me thank His Excellency Dr. Idem Nangagwa for also announcing these by-elections. What they do, they make everyone to get to work. Be it ZEC, be it every other stakeholders who were actually involved in this whole process. It helps us as Zimbabweans to also, I know it's a constitutional right that every Zimbabwean should have someone to represent them. I know these elections were not of our calling or any other person, but it's because within their political parties they decided to recall people. And now what has to happen is every person has to be represented. So what needs to be done now is indeed ZEC needs to also make sure at least that they register people to vote. This is very, very important. Even within us as a political party, it's something that we're encouraging every other person to do. We are saying everyone has to register to vote. The moment that we do this, everyone will be able to exercise their democratic right for them to be able to get involved in elections. And as far as everyone else is concerned, I feel that as political parties, let's take it upon ourselves as well. It's not that government can be able to provide sufficient resources for voter registration. Why can't we as political parties also get engaged in this, so that at least we make people also be able to go and register to vote? Because after all, it also helps us to also be able to get involved also as political parties. So I think this is not only the onus of government, but it's an all-inclusive approach, which needs every political person, all civic societies, to enable everyone to be able to register to vote. I think in that way it can also help us. And the Registrar General's office, the Honorable Minister, has to make sure at least that they enable every other ordinary citizen to be having these cards, these ID cards. It's very, very important for the nation to go forward. But after all, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to my panel. And I want to commend the political parties. Every time we invite political parties, they bring us men, and for the very first time, it's an all-women cast. This is amazing. It's something that we need to applaud, because most of the times we invite political parties and they second someone. We can't say no when they bring men. But this is amazing. The future is bright. The future is female, as they say. Thank you very much for joining me, Dara Blessed Mhlanga, in partnership with the ERC here at Heart and Soul TV and Radio, where we were discussing elections. This is Electoral with ERC and Heart and Soul TV and Radio. As usual, I'm your host, Dara Blessed Mhlanga, encouraging you to play your part as a citizen of this country. Register to vote and go and vote. Decide the future of your country, for yourself, for your children, and for future generations. Until next time, thank you very much.